Well, Wall Street really went all out for Halloween this year.
Uh,
Some traders are waking up with a serious sugar rush, uh, tendy rush,
Mhm.
while others are left wondering if they got tricked instead of treated.
Yeah, like seriously.
We're diving deep into the wildest moves from this spooky session,
Oh, yeah.
trying to figure out what exactly spooked the market and what sent some of these stocks soaring.
Right?
It's crazy how quickly things can change on Wall Street.
Oh, absolutely. Sentiment can flip on a dime, you know? Like
Yeah.
1 minute, the S&P 500 is down 0.6% in just 8 minutes.
Right.
And the next minute, everybody's scrambling to jump on these rockets.
Yeah.
Like, early on, there was definitely that, like, here we go again feeling. But then some of these after hours moves, they really brought the bulls back from the graveyard.
Speaking of resurrections, let's talk about Amazon.
Okay.
Pre-earnings, everybody was on edge.
Yeah.
It was like a horror movie waiting to happen. People were bracing for that IV crush and whispering about Bezos maybe dumping shares.
Yeah. And with the stock right there at that $200 resistance level,
Exactly.
it was like a recipe for disaster.
But then, boom, Amazon drops this monster earnings beat.
Oh, yeah.
The after-hours surge was like watching a zombie climb out of its grave.
Totally. And all those calls printing.
It was beautiful to see.
It's funny. Sometimes the best trades are the ones that make you sweat a little, you know?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But, I was scrolling through the comments and not everyone was impressed.
Really?
Yeah, some people felt like the move was a little, underwhelming.
I see.
They wanted to see a full-blown launch to the moon,
Right. Right.
not just a gentle liftoff.
Well, yeah. Expectations can be a beast,
They really can.
especially with a stock like Amazon that has so many, diehard fans.
For sure.
I think the big question now is, will Apple's performance kind of overshadow Amazon's momentum?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? All right, before we get to Tim Apple, let's talk about another stock that defied expectation
Okay.
and gave one lucky investor a real Halloween treat.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about Intel
Okay.
and the story of Nana.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
That's like a Wall Street fairy tale.
It is. It's like this legacy stock that everyone thought was dead and buried,
Yeah.
but then it gets resurrected.
It really is. Most people had written Intel off,
Totally, yeah.
expecting another disappointing quarter.
Yeah.
The stock just kept sliding and sliding.
Sliding into oblivion.
Exactly. But then, surprise, Intel pulls a rabbit out of the hat, beats earnings estimates, and the stock shoots up almost 15% after hours.
Wow. That's incredible.
I can only imagine the scramble to buy calls.
Oh, yeah. Pure panic.
It's amazing. So some people are celebrating Nana's windfall, right?
Right.
Well, others are kicking themselves for not buying those calls.
Yep.
But I've also seen a fair amount of skepticism. Yeah, some people are saying this is just a short squeeze.
Right. A temporary bump before the stock starts sliding again.
Yeah. So is Intel really back? Or is this just a dead cat bounce?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And it shows you how risky earnings season can be.
Oh,
Even when a company beats expectations,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee how the market's going to react.
nope.
Which brings us to Apple.
All right, Tim Apple.
Before the closing bell, all eyes were on Apple.
Right.
Everyone was waiting to see what Tim Apple had cooked up.
I know, and the stock had been doing pretty well.
It had. But then, in those final minutes of trading,
Uh-oh.
it took a pretty steep dive.
Yeah, adding to the drama.
Exactly. And then the moment of truth arrived. Apple beats earnings estimates.
Okay.
But instead of the market going wild, the reaction was kind of muted.
Really?
Yeah, it was almost like a collective shrug.
Interesting.
Like, okay, Apple, we expected that. What else you got?
So what are people saying?
Well, some are blaming it on those upcoming fines. Others say it's because Apple's being too cautious with AI investments.
Yeah.
And then you've got those who were hoping for a repeat of the Amazon surge.
All right, right.
And they were left feeling kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I see.
Just goes to show that even when a company delivers the goods, market sentiment can be a real wild card.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen.
Speaking of wild cards, let's take a quick look at the graveyard of overpumped stocks.
Okay.
Carvana and Reddit, those meme stock darlings,
Uh-huh.
they took a pretty big hit today.
Yeah, especially Carvana.
Yeah, with all those fraud allegations. It's like they're teetering on the edge of a cliff.
Great.
It's a good reminder that even the most hyped-up growth stories can come crashing down when reality hits.
Absolutely. And then there's Google.
Oh, yeah, how'd they do?
Well, they beat earnings.
Okay.
And initially, the stock popped,
Nice.
but then it quickly fizzled out
Oh, man.
and ended up right back where it started.
Like a ghost.
Exactly.
Just disappearing into thin air.
It's almost like the market has ADD or something.
Yeah.
It's constantly jumping from one shiny object to the next.
And it can't even focus on the companies with good earnings.
Right.
Like even Microsoft dipped today.
Wow.
And that's a company that's like a money-making machine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What does it take to impress Wall Street these days?
Seriously, you've got these tech giants posting solid earnings, but the market's reaction is all over the place.
But what does it all mean?
It's a real head-scratcher, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, you've got these companies with seemingly positive earnings reports.
Yeah.
But then the market is just so volatile and unpredictable.
This Halloween market is full of tricks, END treats.
It really is. And it seems like everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop, like they're bracing for this big market correction.
Right. But we're still seeing these moments where stocks take off like a rocket.
Yeah, it's like there are two completely different stories playing out at the same time.
Spec.
Yeah, it's like everyone's on edge waiting for the bottom to fall out.
Right. And yet
we keep seeing these little pops of bullishness,
Yeah.
you know, like certain stocks just decide to ignore all the noise and take off.
it's enough to make you dizzy trying to keep up.
Yeah, you've got this underlying anxiety, you know, like those macro concerns are still out there.
Right.
Interest rate hikes, inflation, that looming election.
Oh, yeah.
But then you've got these companies proving that growth and profits are still possible.
It really is a wild ride.
Yeah.
Speaking of wild rides, let's circle back to Microsoft for a second.
Okay.
You know, they're usually seen as like this safe haven for investors.
Yeah, that blue chip titan.
Yeah. But even they couldn't escape today's volatility.
Well, no stock is truly invincible, right?
Sure.
Especially in this market.
Yeah. It makes you think maybe Microsoft's dip is reflecting those broader concerns about tech valuations.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's just that the market's getting tired of the AI hype.
Right, they want to see results.
Yeah, show me the money.
Exactly. Wall Street wants to see how these companies are going to turn all this AI talk into actual earnings.
Speaking of earnings, let's check back in with our Intel holding Crama.
Oh, yeah. Man.
She's been holding on tight through all the ups and downs.
Yeah, while everyone else was jumping ship.
And it looks like her patience might be paying off.
Oh, yeah. That after-hours surge was a classic short squeeze.
So do we think Nana's cashing in?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe she's holding for the long term, you know, believing that Intel's back for good.
Or maybe she's taking profits.
Locking in those gains before the market turns again?
Who knows?
It's a good reminder that investing is just as much about psychology as it is about numbers.
Right. You got to read the market's mood and try to anticipate those shifts in sentiment.
Exactly.
And sometimes you just got to trust your gut.
Like Nana did with Intel.
Exactly. Or like that guy who went all in on Meta and Apple calls,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
hoping for a Halloween
A
miracle.
little too much Halloween spirit.
Definitely a cautionary tale about chasing those to-the-moon gains without thinking about the risks.
Yeah, you gotta know your limits and be prepared to walk away if things go south.
Like playing poker. You can't go all in on every hand.
Exactly. Especially not with these states.
So true. And it makes me think about those overpumped stocks like Carvana and Reddit.
Yeah, those meme stock darlings.
They were riding high for a while there,
But today, reality set in.
especially with Carvana and all those fraud allegations.
Yeah, it's a ticking time bomb.
It really is a reminder that not all growth stories are created equal.
You gotta look beyond the hype and dig into the fundamentals.
Ask yourself, is this company really built to last?
Because if the answer's no, you might be left holding the bag when the music stops.
It's like that game Musical Chairs.
Right.
Everyone's scrambling for a seat,
And when the music stops, someone's gonna be left standing.
and it feels like the music's about to stop.
Yeah, like the market's experiencing a bit of a hangover.
After that AI-fueled frenzy.
Exactly, like everyone's suddenly realizing that the party can't last forever.
Okay, so how do we navigate this market madness?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Especially on a day like today when it feels like anything goes.
Yeah.
You know, you got to stay informed, do your research, and try not to get caught up in the hype.
Exactly.
It's about finding that balance between FOMO and FUD.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out, but you also don't want to panic.
Right.
It's about having a plan, sticking to it, and being ready for anything.
Because the market's always changing.
Yeah, just when you think you figured it out, it throws you a curveball.
And speaking of curveballs, we can't forget about the big one, the upcoming election.
Oh, yeah, that's the ultimate wild card.
Adding another layer of uncertainty to an already chaotic market.
Some investors are holding back, waiting to see how the political landscape shakes out.
Yeah.
Others are jumping in head first, betting on stocks they think will benefit from a certain outcome.
And then there are those who think the market will just shrug it off like it always does.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen.
It's a real head-scratcher.
But that's what keeps things interesting, right?
It does.
That constant tension, that unpredictability, it keeps you engaged and always learning.
Like a giant game of chess.
Exactly.
You're always trying to anticipate the market's next move.
And sometimes you make the right call and walk away a winner.
Or in this case, with a bag full of Halloween candy.
Aha, exactly.
But wait, we haven't even talked about the main event.
What's that?
NVDA's earnings report.
Oh, yeah, the Chip King.
Everyone's been waiting for this one.
I know, the hype has been building for months.
Some people think it's going to send the market to the moon.
Right.
Others are saying the stock is way overvalued.
And due for a correction?
Either way, it's going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to be talking about it tomorrow.
It's like the grand finale of our Halloween fireworks show.
Will it be a dazzling spectacle or a total dud?
Only time will tell.
That's the beauty of the market, isn't it?
It is.
Unpredictable, exhilarating, keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It's like a good Halloween movie.
But this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
We've got a whole week of trading ahead of us.
Who knows what tricks and treats are waiting around the corner.
So buckle up, because this deep dive is far from over.
It's crazy how fast things move on Wall Street these days.
Yeah, it's like everything's happening in hyperspeed.
Remember that comment about the S&P dropping 0.6% in just 8 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
It's like blink and you miss it.
We're in the age of algorithms, high-frequency trading news cycles that move at the speed of light.
Right.
And that creates this feeling of whiplash for investors.
Definitely. I mean, some people are saying this volatility is all about market manipulation,
Right. Like there are these shadowy figures controlling everything.
Exactly.
Others say it's more about technical factors.
Like what?
Things like month-end options expiry.
Oh, okay.
But regardless of the reason, it's clear that there are these forces at play that are way beyond our control.
It's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it's a reminder that investing isn't just about picking the right stocks. It's also about understanding all these complex forces that drive market sentiment.
Right, and all the risks that come with it.
Exactly.
And sometimes it feels like no matter what you do,
yeah,
you can't predict what's going to happen.
It's like you said, no matter how good your plan is,
yeah,
sometimes things just go sideways.
Remember that guy who was complaining about his Microsoft losses?
Oh, yeah.
He bought a blue chip stock.
Supposedly a safe haven.
And still got hammered.
Meanwhile, Amazon and Intel are taking off.
Yeah, it's enough to make you question everything.
Maybe that's why people are so fascinated by the market. It's like this unsolvable puzzle game where the rules are constantly changing.
It's like trying to catch a falling knife.
Right.
It's dangerous, but you can't help but try.
It's exhilarating.
But we got to remember, this isn't just a game.
Right. There are real consequences.
People's livelihoods are at stake.
Exactly.
So how do we navigate this market madness?
I mean, how do we balance that desire for profits with the need to be cautious?
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to be realistic about our expectations.
Okay.
We can't expect to win every trade.
Right.
Or perfectly time the market.
Yeah.
There are going to be losses along the way.
It's all part of the game.
Right. It's about managing those losses and learning from them.
Right. And staying focused on the long term.
Exactly.
Having a solid investment strategy.
One that aligns with your risk tolerance and your goals.
Speaking of goals.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the elephant in the room.
What's that?
The election.
Ah, yes, the big one.
It's adding this whole other layer of uncertainty to the market.
Some investors are playing it safe, waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Others are making bets based on who they think is going to win.
Right. And then there are those who think the market won't even care who wins.
Who knows?
It's fascinating to watch it all unfold.
It is.
Well, as we wrap up this Halloween edition of The Deep Dive,
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on one thing. The market is just as unpredictable and full of surprises as a good horror movie.
Absolutely. It keeps you guessing till the very end.
And I think that's the biggest lesson we can take away from this Halloween market roller coaster.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected.
Embrace the volatility.
And never underestimate the power of market sentiment.
So as the credits roll on this spooky market session,
Yeah.
just remember you're not alone.
Right. We're all in this together.
Trying to make sense of it all.
Navigating the ups and
The
downs.
twists and turns.
And maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
those who can handle the volatility
Stay calm.
and keep a close eye on the charts.
They'll be the ones who come out on top.
With a bag full of treats.
Happy Halloween, everyone.